dramatic weekend, almost more than we could have hoped for from the Indonesian round. And here we are ready to discuss the fallout from what could be a defining round in deciding this World Championship season. And of course, first thing we are going to talk about is the Martin Bagnaia title swinging dramatically from day to day at the moment, which is what we want to see, I suppose. So Martin on Saturday winning the sprint race, and then going into Sunday and then checking out at the front. So what does this look like? At this point, it looks like we're seeing someone in some kind of form that we've not seen for a long time, I think, in MotoGP. And then we get a little moment, and I don't know, is it a moment of madness? Is it unlucky? I mean, it went early, didn't it? And I did hear Simon Crafer in the after the flag thing mention it could have been a tyre thing. He's pushing really hard, really early on what I think was the medium tyre, whereas Pecco had the hard tyre. And maybe it couldn't stand up to it, or maybe, he's made a mistake. Either way, I guess if you're pushing too hard too early, that is a mistake as well. But I mean, in that moment, has he made a big mistake or lost concentration? Or has it sort of just one of those ones where you're 1% difference in your application and the thing just goes on you? It can happen. But it does, I think, open us up to an interesting question for where we're at in MotoGP at the moment, the current crop of riders. Do we have any mentality monsters left? Guys who just, they get in front of the World Championship and they're just like oozing confidence and they don't crack and they just get on with it and they go and win and win. Thinking, of course, obviously, of your original aliens, especially the three of them that won world titles. Maybe don't include Danny Pedrosa in this because we are talking about title winning mentality here. And you're looking at Marc Marquez, but they could just get into a position where they were leading the World Championship, dominating, or they'd get that small little break like Martin's had here where he's gotten himself in front, finally gotten himself in front from a long way back, and then pushes on. Is the pressure so high at the moment that these guys, when Pecco's in the lead of the World Championship, he can't seem to push to the level that Martin was pushing to? So when the pressure's off, Martin's just going ham and he's just going nuts. He's just winning everything. He's just taking risks that he just feels like he can take. He can push where other guys, maybe like Pecco, maybe thinks they have to take it easy here. I'm winning the World Championship. I need to make sure I bring it home. And then as soon as we switch roles, Martin goes and does what Pecco did and throws it down the road. So are we lacking mentality monsters? Are these guys feeling the pressure more than where, like I said, you Rossi's, Marquez, Lorenzo, Stoner, they didn't feel it like this, go back, they didn't feel it like this. They were just like, nah, I'm the top guy here. I'm going to go win this. Are we maybe not getting anyone like that at the moment? Or am I looking too much into this? Maybe not. But let me know what you think. Do we lack a certain mental capacity in this current crop? Obviously, other than Mark. Whereas when they do get into the lead in the World Championship, they feel that they tighten up. And maybe they do. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I'm not going to include Fabio in this because his capitulation last season wasn't really his capitulation. I mean, he did have moments where he obviously felt pressure from Pecco, and I'm thinking of Assen, where he felt like he had to make a desperate move, things like that. But generally, the Ducati was so much better than the Yamaha that I don't think it'd be fair to pin that on him. But really, other than that, I mean, you're seeing this like Pecco giving away a big lead this season. Martin, as soon as he gets in the lead, gives it up. And if we localize that entirely on this race, the story is told there as well. So Martin leading the World Championship, not even 24 hours at the point that he crashed, I think. It was just shy of 24 hours. Gets into the lead of the World Championship, crashes. Pecco remarkably comes from nowhere to lead this race in what was, and we'll talk about this, an exceptional ride, maybe luck, I don't know. But as soon as he gets in the lead and it gets towards the end of the race, that gap to him and the two riders behind shrinks. Is he tightening up on the last lap of the race there where he's thinking, oh God, big chance to put 25 points back on Martin here? And he's tightened up and they've come back towards him. Or was he just managing? You tell me. But yeah, brilliant to just have a fantastic race and really exciting and dramatic. And I think drama is the thing we're looking for here. Whereas you don't want to see guys go down the way Martin did there. And that's the way the championship lead swings. But you've got to admit, when things like that happen, it makes you sit the edge of your seat and your hands are on top of your head. A bit like Jorge when he went down. That was everyone's reaction. Because you just couldn't believe what we're seeing. And that kind of stuff, while you don't, like I said, you don't want to see guys crash and give up championship leads like that. You'd rather see it a ding-dong battle for the lead on the last lap where, maybe Pecco pips him or whatever if he's going to give up the championship lead. But for it to happen in that way is very dramatic and it makes for good television, I'll tell you that much. Now, Pecco, he's come out after the race and said he ranks up there as one of his best wins. And I can see where he's coming from with that. And it's not our place to say what he thinks his best win is or what his best win is. That's up to him. But without Martin going down there, it's hard to see where he catches him. Although with the hard front tyre on, maybe the race would have come to him at the end. And maybe he's thinking to himself, I would have got there anyway. Maybe with how hard Martin was pushing, and we could see that how far ahead he was. Maybe. I'm not going to tell him that's not right. But was there a little bit of luck here? Did he get away with one? Finally loses that World Championship lead, and you think, well, Martin's about to put more points on him and he's going to have to get to Phillip Island and win there now. Just got a break, didn't he? Just got a little lucky break. And I'm wondering if he's feeling more relieved than anything else in this situation. But yeah, he has said it's up there with one of his best couple of wins. And coming from 13th on the grid, it's hard to deny him that. But did get a break. Did get a break from Martin here in this one. And just going through other impressive couple of results here. Maverick, obviously very good. Now, there was something there for Aprilia this weekend that they didn't get, and they maybe should have, and we'll talk about Aleix in a second. But good result for Maverick. Had to salvage something for Aprilia this weekend when they looked for all money to be nearly unbeatable from practice. Celebrated with a little bit of a Halloween dress up there. And of course, Fabio getting on the podium and looked like he had pace to probably go past Maverick at points. But again, the shortfalls of the Yamaha are apparent and hard to overlook. But look, and it's this thing with Yamaha at the moment where there's nothing wrong with maybe not having the top end speed or not having the ability to go and pull alongside someone and go past them to win the races. But that, you know, where you find your lap time, it doesn't matter, right? Like you could find your lap time in the corners, which is fine as long as you're definitely one of the quickest bikes over a lap time. So you can get that rider onto the front row and then he can try and pull away at the start. And then even if you are a bit slower on the straights, you can combat that by being better around on a lot of circuits. Obviously, some circuits that will just catch you on the straight then. It's okay if you make your lap time that way, but you've got to be out front and then you've got to be able to pull away from people, which they can't do. And I think if they are going to stay on this track where they're going to be monstered by people on the straights, you've got to at least be a lot quicker around the corner so you can give your man a chance to pull away. But yeah, good result for Fabio, and they'll take a bit of confidence from that into Phillip Island. Whether they can compete at Phillip Island is another matter, but it does flow Phillip Island. So if they, quick straight and stuff like that, you're coming onto it fast, they may get monstered there as well, but it does flow. So maybe the back sections of the circuit, they can make some time, maybe, hopefully. Bezzecchi, third in the sprint, fifth in the Grand Prix, coming off surgery during the week. So, fair play to him. That's big effort. And to not lose that many points in the grand scheme of things this weekend is pretty remarkable, I think. And, fair play to him. Also, we had Digi put himself in the shop window with a ride at Honda up for grabs, or potentially Aprilia, if we believe the rumours. But there will be one seat up for grabs left to fill. There's one piece of the puzzle missing. We may have to move a couple of pieces to get there, but we may get there. And Digi doing everything he can this weekend to just go, I'll do a job for you. So yeah, good result for him as well. Nice to see. You want to see these lads have a crack, Now let's talk tyres. And while we talk tyres, we are going to talk Aleix Espargaro. Michelin, after seeing what happened on Saturday, recommended to the teams not to use the soft tyre. Possibly just the soft, I don't know if it was front and rear that they were saying not to use, but definitely the rear. And basically, they did everything but mandate against the use of it. So we almost got to that point. They said, look, if you still want to use it, but you're not going to get to the end, right? So naturally, Aleix Espargaro goes, well, I'm going to go soft front, soft rear. Interesting decision considering the circumstances. He obviously felt like they were going to be kind enough on the tyres and he could be kind enough on the tyres that it was not going to be a problem for them. It did not work out that way. And they've really, like I said before with Mav, he should have won this race this weekend. He should have won something, or at least been on the podium. They were so fast. They had all the pace. He was looking confident. And he sometimes every now and then he'll turn up on a weekend and have that aura about him, Aleix, and he kind of had that this weekend, and they've just thrown it away. A huge weekend potentially for them, completely thrown away. It's a bizarre decision. I'd like to get his thoughts on it, but I don't know what he would possibly say. I mean, really just, like I said, probably just say that he thought that they were going to get to the end, and they thought that they were going to be kind enough on the tyres. Now, I do believe, I don't know if we can, if I can find this information anywhere. Look, I can't be asked looking for it, to be honest, but Mav may have had a soft on the front, but he ran a medium rear, and that's where he got through. But the soft double act just was never the option, never. And as told to us by Michelin, just don't do it. Did it anyway. That goes into now, the circuit is harsh on tyres, and I really like this circuit. I really, really do. But I'd like to see them get more running on it in the lead up to the Grand Prix. It's just like no events on there, and then MotoGP turns up, and you get one, almost the dry line effect in the wet, where we're so dirty and dusty with no rubber offline at all, and nothing running offline at all, that if you do go offline, it's just dust and dirt and slippery, and it's like going into the wet. Maybe we can look at getting some events on there, throughout the year to rub that in a little bit. But generally, I thought it made for a really interesting and great weekend. I really like the circuit. It's really designed for bikes to pass on by the look of it. Yeah, I had a really great time watching this weekend. And that's MotoGP done for us there. I mean, we could mention more guys like Mark and that, but what's the point? At this point, it's all next year for Mark now. It's all about next year. In Moto2 now, as we move on, not much to say about this one. I didn't think it was that interesting, this race. Pedro Acosta, I mean, we could say every week, as we do, peerless at this level. It goes on. Moto2 ticks on, and so does Pedro. There was a little bit of interest at the start when Canet mixed it up with Pedro for maybe all of about 3 laps before Pedro decided to put his foot down. And then there was a bit of action behind between, you're looking at Arbolino, Fermin Aldeguer, Manu Gonzalez, and Jake Dixon picking up places late in the race to end up, I think he finished 4th in the end, so not a bad result for him. So there's a little bit of scrapping going on behind, but not much. This one's run and done. The only way we talk about Moto2 a little bit more from now on is if the race is kind of epic each week, but this week it was not. Moto3, let's have a look at what's happened here. There's a lot happened in this one. This one was all over the place. And it all started before the red lights had gone out, and Ayumi Sasaki on his sighting lap went down. He's busted up his gloves or something, so he's thrown on a pair of Jake Dixon's gloves. Doesn't have a set of spares with him, apparently. I don't know what that's about. So I think he's wearing, if I heard this correctly on the commentary, he's wearing Jake Dixon's gloves for the race. So already, if something's a little bit out, I mean, anyone that rides a bike knows that they can, like, if you don't have proper like feeling in your hands and dexterity, and your gloves a little bit, you buy a set of gloves because they look cool, but they might be a little bit too big or whatever. It really is a nightmare, and that's just pedaling around at 30 mile an hour around the roads. Just feels awful. So you can only imagine how this feels. And then he's a little bit flustered, I think, Ayumi, because the race starts and the guy just doesn't get off the line. I don't know if he wasn't in gear or what's happened there, or if he wasn't ready for the start. I have no idea what happened. But his bike didn't move off the start, and he had to click it into gear and get going. So I just think he's just flustered. He's upset his own rhythm with the crash and then the gloves, and then, and then just never got going in the race either and finished outside the points. And what a disaster he's now. I mean, he's still second in the championship, but he's 16 points back now, and he's just given Masia a little bit of breathing room, and it could be all that he needs, Masia, who, by the way, didn't have the best race of his life either. You don't really have to if your rivals are giving you that kind of leeway in this point of the season. So he's finished 6th in the end. And in these big group finishes, it can happen. You miss out. Now, it must be said, obviously, Diogo Moreira, fantastic result for him. It was good to see. I like seeing new winners in Moto3 because always young guys and, their careers could be stagnating. It's a lot of pressure for these kids. It's good to see him get one. Good for the Brazilians. Now, it was a hectic race. We're going into the last lap. I think it must have been a 10 or 12 rider lead group. Lead group might be stretching it. There was a couple of guys just dropping off the back, but they were close enough. And we just saw chaos with Daniel Gardo just like cutting corners. It looked like other guys were doing it as well, but maybe they didn't trigger this. They maybe just stayed inside the boundary. But Olgado just went, I'm just going straight past. We got long lap penalty, maybe about 6 or 7 laps to go for doing it. And then did it again with maybe a lap or 2 to go. And then by that point, he wasn't taking his long lap penalty. He just copped the 3-second penalty at the end, which has seen him drop all the way to the back of that group. At 14th, he's finished. He's only picked up 2 points. And then this again, where like it just gets to, if you just let your head go a little bit and you get a bit scrappy in a scrap, good as you are and as quick as he was and as good as I thought he was for the win, I've got to say, when it got to a few laps ago, just all went out the window very quickly. It didn't take much. Just lost his head a little bit in a couple of situations in the second half of the race, and that was it. You're done. Especially the lead group's not so big like it was today. If it's a 4 or 5 man league group, you're okay. You're probably still finishing 6th or 7th with the penalties. But when it's that big, you go all the way to the back of it. I really enjoyed the battle of the Davids. David Munoz and David Alonso scrapped all the way to the finish and finished one behind the other. Well, not even, side by side as they crossed the line. Alonso just pipping Munoz there. Was a lot of fun, that. Maybe people think they went a bit too far with it. It was a bit too much leaving one in on each other, but I had fun. I liked it. Crack on, lads. No one took each other out, which Munoz can be prone to do. Maybe a little bit of contact. Alonso was pretty critical in his post-race, saying people kept leaving him in on him, and I think he was talking about Munoz. At the end of the day, they all crossed the line, and no one really got turfed out majorly from what I could see. It was all small contacts there, and you want them rubbing elbows every now and then, don't you? And as we look a little bit further down, I mean, the 2 rookies, Via and Rueda, both really good finishes here. Via very unlucky not to finish on the podium once again, and Rueda, I mean, was mixing it in that group. I did not expect to see him pop up in 5th by the end of it though, so he's done a good job there, and promising for these two going into next season. And I've got to say how impressed I have been with Colin Via. I honestly think the kid's got the goods from what I've seen so far. I'm really impressed with him. As far as rookie seasons go, unless you're Pedro, well, you can't really ask for much more. I mean, you obviously can ask for podiums and things like that. But in terms of pace, I think he's setting himself up nicely for next season, building into what could be a good career for him. So I've been really impressed with him. I think his first podium's not far away, and then potentially a first win soon after. Bring on Phillip Island, my favourite circuit and event of the year. Not that it's a special event in any way. I mean, I've been to it loads of times. It's just a Grand Prix. Nothing that magical happens, but it's nostalgia and memories for me. And I won't be there this year as I am not in that hemisphere. But if you're around the area, if you're in Melbourne or whatever, just take the time to get down there. I know it's a bit of a drive down to Phillip Island, but just do it. Nothing like seeing them close up. And I'll be up at before the crack of dawn here in the UK to watch all the races throughout the weekend. So really looking forward to it. As much as I love watching Phillip Island when I'm there, I do like seeing it on TV, because I went so many years of my life without ever actually watching these races on TV, because I was always at them. And when I watch it on TV now, I love seeing it. I love seeing the stuff you don't see when you're there, maybe depending on where you're sitting, but there's certain shots where you see the Bass Strait in the background. You get the ocean in the background, and the little crest where the circuit just drops away, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. And it is the best circuit in the world, let's be honest. It is the best circuit in the world. Any discipline of motorsport you're talking about is the best circuit in the world. And we'll see you on that one. Enjoy your weekend, everybody.